Reading closely and writing to learn. Animal defense mechanisms. Unit 2, Lesson 5, Springbok Gazelle. Guiding questions. How do animals' bodies and behaviors help them survive? How can a writer use knowledge from their research to inform and entertain? Learning targets. I can make inferences based on information from pictures and text. I can support my inferences with details and examples from pictures and text. I can find the meaning of unfamiliar words to help me better understand a text. Let's go ahead and start diving into our research, rereading, and pulling out details about our animal, the Springbok Gazelle. In Lesson 4, you completed the first page, which was just identifying page numbers from the different texts that you could use for your research. We found that information about the Springbok Gazelle can be found in Animal Behavior, Animal Defenses book on pages 7 through 9, page 64, and page 114. Then we read those pages and we listed some different defense mechanisms that our expert group animal uses. So we said that the Springbok Gazelle has horns or antlers, sharp senses, speed, hiding, stotting or stamping, running away, and traveling in mixed groups. So that sheet should already be filled out from Lesson 4. And today we'll be filling out our research note catcher, which is the next page in your research journal. It's over here on the right. Make sure you've located that. If you need more time, please pause the video in order to find that page and be ready to go. Again, because in Lesson 4 we found that we're only going to be finding information in the Animal Behaviors book, that we won't be focusing on venom or the article award-winning survival skills. And now that we've identified those pages, we're going to reread them, and then we're going to be looking for details, and we're going to be recording our findings in this chart, starting with the page number. We're going to, in this middle column, we're going to write down details from the text. So we're going to take information right from those pages, insert it into the text, and then we're going to, in the right-hand column, we'll write down how this helps the animal survive. So that's sort of our interpretation or our inference about how that defense mechanism helps the animal survive. So we'll be filling out those 3 columns, and there's about 5 or 6 spaces on this page for us to fill out, and we will use our text to help us find that information. Chapter 1, Avoiding Danger, page 7. A cheetah skulks through the tall grass of the African savanna. Head lowered, she stares intently at a herd of gazelles. Her spotted coat blends in with the dry grass, making her nearly invisible as she sneaks up on her prey. The gazelles continue to graze. Between bites of grass, each one snaps up its head to check out its surroundings. Bright eyes scan the horizon, ears swivel to pick up the slightest sound, nostrils flare to sniff for the scent of a cheetah, lion, or other hungry predator. Suddenly, a few gazelles snort and stamp their feet. The entire herd goes on high alert. The black bands that run down the gazelle's sides quiver, passing along the message, danger. Then some of the gazelles begin bouncing as if on pogo sticks. They spring high in the air with their backs arched and legs stiff. They land on all fours and then leap again. The cheetah pauses. The gazelles have seen her. It is impossible to launch a surprise attack now. The cheetah depends on one short-lived, startling burst of speed to chase down a gazelle. The gazelles, however, also run fast, hitting speeds of up to 40 miles an hour, and they can keep up this speed much longer than a cheetah can. Already after reading the first two paragraphs, I noticed that there were some defense mechanisms that the author talked about for the Springbok Gazelle. So both of these will be found on page 7. In paragraph 2, we hear that the gazelles are grazing, and while they're grazing, they're looking around, they're checking out their surroundings, their eyes are scanning the horizon, their ears are listening, their nostrils are smelling, and so all of these are those senses that they're using to help them detect predators. So in that second column, I'm going to pull out information from the text. I'm going to write it in to that space. Do that now. Pause the video now so that you may have time to complete this in your research journal. Now we'll fill out the chart on the far right side, how this helps the animal survive. Well, using their senses helps them stay alert and helps them be aware of any predators, and that helps keep it safe, keeps it from becoming a victim of its predator. So I want you to fill in that box. The gazelle uses its senses to stay alert and aware of any predators, keeping it safe. Pause the video now so that you may have time to complete this in your research journal. Then in paragraph 3, it says, "Suddenly a few gazelles snort and stamp their feet. The entire herd goes on high alert. The black bands that run down the gazelle's sides quiver, passing along the message, 'Danger.' Then some of the gazelles begin bouncing as if on pogo sticks. They spring high in the air with their backs arched and legs stiff. They land on all fours and then leap again." Now we just heard about one of the Springbok Gazelle's main defense mechanisms, and that is that ability to bounce like a pogo stick that it says in the text. So we're going to write that down in the second column, the detail about the defense mechanism. We're going to put that information that I've underlined in red up at the top. You're going to write that in that space. And then once we're done with that, then we will discuss how this helps the animal survive. So go ahead and copy that down into your chart. The gazelles begin bouncing as if on pogo sticks. They spring high in the air with their backs arched and legs stiff. They land on all fours, then leap again. Pause the video now so that you may have time to complete this in your research journal. Now that you've got this recorded, it's time to think about how this helps the animal survive. So in other words, how does jumping up in the air and doing all that and leaping up again, how does that help the animal survive? Well, when we read on, we find out that it actually helps let the predator know that they've been spotted and that the gazelle is strong and it's not going to be easy for that predator to catch it. And so it actually helps the animal survive by letting the predator know that we've seen you, do not bother to chase us, we're strong and healthy and can outrun you. Pause the video now so that you may have time to complete this in your research journal. Let's keep reading. You're going to hear paragraphs 3 and 4 again, and then we'll move on. Suddenly, a few gazelles snort and stamp their feet. The entire herd goes on high alert. The black bands that run down the gazelle's sides quiver, passing along the message, danger. Then some of the gazelles begin bouncing, as if on pogo sticks. They spring high in the air with their backs arched and legs stiff. They land on all fours and then leap again. The cheetah pauses. The gazelles have seen her. It is impossible to launch a surprise attack now. The cheetah depends on one short-lived, startling burst of speed to chase down a gazelle. The gazelles, however, also run fast, hitting speeds of up to 40 miles an hour, and they can keep up this speed much longer than a cheetah can. Their odd jumping behavior, called stotting, signals to the cheetah, "We have seen you, so do not bother to chase us. We are strong and healthy and can outrun you." If the cheetah is lucky, perhaps she will find a gazelle fawn hidden in the grass. However, the fawns have tawny coats and can lie still as a stone for a long time. Plus, the fawns' mothers are careful not to give the cheetah any clues as to where their young are hiding. In paragraph 4, we heard about another defense mechanism that the Springbok Gazelle has. It is very, very fast. And in the text, it actually says that they can run up to 40 miles an hour. And so we're going to include that information. We found it on page 7. So we're going to put that on our chart, and then in the middle box we're going to write the detail right out of the text. They run up to 40 miles an hour. Pause the video now so that you may have time to complete this in your research journal. Now we have to think, how does this help the animal survive? In other words, how does being fast help the Springbok Gazelle survive or escape its predators? It might seem very obvious, but we're going to write that down. I'm not going to complete it for you, but I will give you the sentence starter. So in the last box there in the third column, you're going to write, being fast helps the gazelle survive because blank. And you're going to fill in the blank with what you think it should be. Pause the video now so that you may have time to complete this in your research journal. Okay, moving on. In paragraph 5, on page 8, we read that fawns have tawny or brown, light brown color, so the same color as the grass. The fawns have tawny coats and can lie still as a stone for a long time. So that means that the baby Springbok gazelles have light brown fur, and so they blend in with the grass, and they can also lie very, very still as a stone for a long time. So we're going to fill that in the middle column, the detail about the defense mechanism, and then after we complete that, then we'll do the last column. Pause the video now so that you may have time to complete this in your research journal. Now you're going to fill in the last column. How does blending in and not moving help the fawns? Again, you'll fill in the blank here. I'll get you started. Blending in and not moving help the fawns stay safe because the predator cannot blink. So you're going to fill in the blank with what you think is the correct response. Like most wild animals, gazelles are always watching out for danger. Most often, that danger is another animal, in this case, a hungry cheetah. Even domestic animals, such as horses, sheep, and chickens, are on the alert for any threat to their safety. Being alert is the first step an animal takes to defend itself. It is one of many behaviors that animals use to survive in a world filled with predators. Much of an animal's self-defense behavior comes from within it. Most animals are born knowing how to defend themselves. Scientists call this inborn knowledge instinct. Now we're going to read the text box that is found on page 64. It is titled, "One Warning for All." A gazelle that stamps its foot, or stots, jumps high into the air, sends two important messages to a predator. First, the gazelle has seen the predator, so the predator has lost its chance to launch a surprise attack. Second, the gazelle is strong and healthy, so it would be a waste of time to chase it. This kind of warning is called pursuit deterrence. Pursuit deterrence is different from aposematism, the use of warning colors or other signals to keep predators away. A gazelle that uses pursuit deterrence tells a predator that it is strong, healthy individual at that particular moment. It does not mean that the predator should give up hunting gazelles altogether. Okay, let's focus in on that first paragraph of the section titled "One Warning for All." In this paragraph, we learned a lot of information about stotting, or that move that the gazelle does, which is jumping high into the air. We learned that it sends two important messages. One, the gazelle has seen the predator, and then the predator loses its chance to surprise the gazelle. Second, the gazelle is strong and healthy, and so it's a waste of the predator's time to try to chase it. And so we're going to take that information from the text and we're going to add it to our chart in the second box. The page number is page 65, and then in the second box we're going to write down that information from the text. Pause the video now so that you may have time to complete this in your research journal. Now we need to fill in the last box. How does this help the animal survive? Well, I'm going to give you a sentence starter, and you can use the information from the text to help you fill in those blanks. The predator loses its chance to launch a surprise attack, and it thinks blank. So you're looking back at the text for that second reason that, the second message that the gazelle sends to the predator. So the first message was that it loses its chance to launch a surprise attack, and the second thing is also underlined up above. So use that information to help you. Pause the video now so that you may have time to complete this in your research journal. In lesson 4, we identified that the gazelle was mentioned in paragraph 4 on this page, and so I'm just going to reread paragraph 4, where we see the word gazelles. Animals may also form mixed groups, such as the herds of hoofed animals that migrate across Africa's plains. There, shaggy horned animals, called gnus, form herds of up to 1 million animals. Traveling along with them are tens of thousands of zebras and gazelles. Okay, so another defense mechanism that we read about on page 114 is that animals may form mixed groupings. And what that means is it's a mix of different types of animals, a mix of gnus, zebras, and gazelles all traveling together at the same time. So again, that's found on page 114, and then we're going to fill in the details about the defense mechanism. We'll do that right now. Pause the video now so that you may have time to complete this in your research journal. And now we have to fill in the last box in the last column, thinking about how this helps the animal survive. How do these mixed groupings help the gazelle survive? So to answer that, we're going to say that traveling in large mixed groups help the gazelle stay safe, and it's harder for predators to pick them out of that group. And so because it's hard, there's so many of them, predators probably stay away from them. Pause the video now so that you may have time to complete this in your research journal. End of Lesson 5.